and welcome to the 57th episode of the Manor Podcast. I am your co-host, Michael Hamilton, joined as always with my best friend and other co-host, Roger Bodee. Roger, how are you doing today?
I'm thrilled. You said I'm your best friend, so we did it. We got there, people. Michael acknowledged that I'm also his best friend. We're friends. He and I both think of each other as good friends. We did it. It's only because I carried my weight this weekend in Baltimore and we made it all the way to the finals. We would have been bestest ever super mega friends had we won, but I at least didn't punt so hard that we got to the finals, so we got to at least remain best friends, you know? If we would have 0-2 scrubbed, the podcast probably would have been over.
No. If we 0-2 scrubbed, I would have been sad, and then we could have sulked together. It would have been a bonding moment where we 0-2 scrubbed and sulked together.
And had to play 4 more rounds on coverage for no reason.
Sure. Oh, maybe 0-3. If we 0-3, I don't know. Would we have still finished out the tournament?
I don't know, dude. They would have seen some wild games of flesh and blood. That's for sure. Because I would just have had zero care anymore. That's for sure.
Just been over it.
Mm-hmm. You know how I play games when I'm over it. They get interesting real fast.
Sure. But tournament, we had a good time. We ended up losing in the finals to the other Wolfpack team, Michael playing Brody and Dave.
Yeah, those guys are okay at Flesh and Blood, it turns out.
Yeah, they're pretty good. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about over the weekend?
That we played in a PTI tournament, and I got 10th on breakers. Mm-hmm. And you guys did real bad. It's one of your worst tournament performances of all time, I think.
Yeah, I think it's up there. The other only I can't speak. The other only class constructed tournament I had that was that bad was the side event of the Las Vegas calling, where we did Team Blitz, and I played my Pro Tour chain list with no changes and just got beat up because I was rusty, and you cannot play chain if you are not on your A game, I feel like.
That's fair. And the Realm stuff. You've gotten beat up pretty bad in some Realm tournaments as well with me.
Yeah, that's true. But I've always had a winning record at those, even if I don't make top 8. And payouts only to top 8, so.
Fair enough. Well,
actually, no.
It's not Icelander's time to shine.
Yeah, I lost to Lexi twice. I think that matchup's really hard. And then
I beat Lexi because I'm a genius, so.
I lost to Kano as well. And
that Kano, the smartest Kano of all time.
I was very impressed. I can't remember his name, but he memorized his pitch stack and stuff, and he just played very well. He was very, very good at Flesh and Blood. So shout outs to Kano player that I don't remember the name of.
I can't believe you don't remember Julian Sniffin's name that I totally no, I knew it.
Okay.
Yeah. He and I bonded, Julian,
So,
but yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yeah.
If you didn't see it, go check out the coverage on Savage Feet's YouTube channel. That's Mansant's new coverage and production team. So yeah, good times. I was really happy with the overall quality of everything, and ultimately, I don't think they could build a better narrative for a team tournament than picking a team and then following them all the way to the finals. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When Ethan first talked about the idea with me, because he had this idea, and I'm like, what happens if we just scrub out of the tournament? I'll feel so bad. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll try to have a backup if it does. And I'm like, okay. Sounds good. But,
remember what I said? I also want to say before the tournament started, I was like, I think there's a 30% chance we win the tournament. I think there's a 30% chance Brody's team wins the tournament. And I think there's a 30% chance that anybody else in the field wins the tournament. We'd say 33.33 repeating, of course, 1/3. And look at that. I hit my 66%er. to one of our two teams in the finals. Because the Wolfpack's the best team in Flesh and Blood, and it's not close. Can you name the last major tournament where there hasn't been a Wolfpack member in at least the top 8? And also on the PTI, it was Travis versus Brody in the finals. So all tournaments all weekend long were mono Wolfpack members in the finals.
All 2 of these tournaments.
Yeah, all 2. 100% of the tournaments had 100% Wolfpack members in the finals.
Okay.
And what's 100% of 100%, Michael?
100%.
There you go. We did it.
That's just math.
Oh, yeah, buddy? Well, what's 90% of 100%?
90%?
Look at you, Mr. Big Brain Math, Michael Hamilton. I don't know. I'm going off the rails.
So this week, let's get back
on the rails.
This week, we wanted to talk about budget decks. So we're kind of in a spot in the class constructed format where the most of the super competitive events are over until Dusk Till Dawn comes out. I think there might be 1 or 2 more events, but nothing I'm going to. So everything's over. So we wanted to kind of go back to our last budget episode where we put out some decks, and that episode really helped a lot of people get into the game, give friends and other people good starting points with decks that you can pick up for less than $100, less than $200, not spending too much money on them, and just get into the game and start playing class constructed, which is at least one of the best formats in the game, if not the best format. So yeah, we wanted to go back and come up with some new budget deck lists for people that are looking for a cheap deck to play to get into the game.
Yeah. And these aren't the best decks in the world, obviously, being budget decks, but I think these are all decks that you could happily take and play it to a calling. I've played some of these decks on Talishar and have about a 50-50 winning record on Talishar. So these decks definitely can, win games, and they're not just, budget decks just to be for the sake of being budget. We considered actual viability in winning games when building them. And with that being said, I don't mind if you don't mind, Michael, I'm going to start off because I think this is I couldn't believe how cheap this deck was when I finished putting it together. This deck is $20. 100 cards for Classic Constructed for $100. Or sorry, for $20. 100 cards, $20.
Isn't it 80 cards?
80 cards for Classic Constructed for $20.
I don't know where 100 came from.
I was adding 80 and 20, and we were at 100% earlier.
Okay.
Anyways, 80 cards, $20. Heatwave, Refy, Rising Rebellion, and we're playing Heatwave for arms, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx for head, Sash of Sandakai for our chest, Searing Emerald Blade for our sword, and Snapdragon Scalers for our boots. So Sash of Sandakai is there because you want an instant speed way to get resources so you don't have to break the chain, because so many of the Draconic cards care about, how many Draconic cards are on the actual chain itself. So I originally had something like Heart and Cross Strap in there, but then I realized you would have to break the chain in order to activate that effect, and that's not really something that Fi really wants to have to do. And I was thinking about it, and Heatwave, especially if you're playing this other card we'll get to in a second, and you're able to pull it off, you can actually get pretty consistently 2 or 3 value out of it if you attack with you get 2 value out of it if you attack with 2 Phoenix Flames on the turn, and if you attack with all 3, then you get 3 value out of it, which is really good. So I wouldn't say really, really good, but it's a fine piece of equipment considering there's still decks out there playing Iron Rot boots and stuff like that. So to start us off at red, we have 3 Blaze Headlong, 3 Brand with Cinder Claw, 3 Flame Call Awakening, 3 Lava Burst, 3 Lava Vein Loyalty, 3 Mounting Anger, 3 Phoenix Flame, 3 Phoenix Form, 3 Rise from the Ashes, 3 Rising Resentment, 3 Snatch, 3 Spreading Flames, and 3 Uprising. So Uprising is kind of taking the place of Art of War, which is kind of the more traditional pump or way to boost all your attacks for the turn. Uprising not quite as good. since it doesn't replace itself, but it does block. It's a non-attack action that does block, and it's still getting the job done ultimately overall for the deck. At yellow, we have 3 Brand with Cinderclaw and 3 Salt the Wound. So Salt the Wound and Lava Burst obviously are going to be the cards with 2 or less power that you're going to want to have to tutor off of your Mask of the Pouncing Links. And we're going back to the value of equipment, then Mask of the Pouncing Links, when you're able to like destroy it and get like a 6 to power attack off of it. That's one of the best rates of the game. I guess you're only doing it for 5 if you don't have Tiger Stripe Shuko usually going. But if you wanted to upgrade this deck, Tiger Stripe Shuko's $40, and it takes this deck costing from $20 to $60 if you put Tiger Stripe Shuko on it. Pretty easy, simple, quick upgrade to still keep it under $100. And then at blue, we have 3 Brand with Cinderclaw, 3 Flusterfist, 3 Lava Vein Loyalty, 3 Soul Beat Strike, and 3 Stab Wound. Stab Wound can be any 2 power, 3 block, ninja, attack. It really doesn't matter. I just picked that because it's new and it's pretty cheap. Then in the sideboard, I have 1 Tide Flippers for Arcane Barrier, 3 Breaking Point, 3 Humble, 3 Infectious Host, 2 Oasis Respite, 1 Razor Reflex, and 2 Energy Potion. So Breaking Point, Infectious Host, and Razor Reflex are probably the cards I'd want to put in against Lexi. Razor Reflex mostly to help push over Breaking Points in order to actually blow up their arsenal. If you actually get it off, then it could just be game over against Lexi on the spot. Infectious Host is really good against the Rangers or anybody who's giving you any of those new diseases. Give them right back to them. If they play Codex of Frailty and you play an Infectious Host and you give them back a Frailty token, that's really annoying for Rangers to deal with. Humble is good against Dromai as because it's a popper, and if you threaten to attack with it and turn off her hero ability, then like she can't give her Dragon's Go again. And Oasis Respite and Energy Potion are there for any local wizards that are still running around in your local meta. So that was kind of the thought process behind making the deck. And I imagine just the main deck is good enough to just go and race and compete with the best of them. So good budget deck option. I think it's completely viable at local armories. And just $20 is, I don't, that for getting into a game, you just can't do better than that.
Yeah, when they designed Fi, I think it was intended to be a deck that new players can pick up and play and learn the game with him. And it's not to say Fi is easy to play to its fullest potential, because it's not. Like even like very skilled players still make mistakes with Fi and aren't maximizing every hand perfectly. But Fi is intuitive and a great place to start playing the game. And for $20, that's just like none of the other decks that at least I could find or come up with were anywhere close to that. I think my cheapest one's around 40.
Yeah. And my next one's going to be stretching the budget consideration. It's going to be like $150. So I figured I'd offer one that's ultra budget and one that's like medium range budget. And then obviously anything above that, you want to start going and spending more money on, more power to you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. So I guess if we want to just go in order of cost, so you started with your $20 one, my next one's 40, and then I have one for around 60 afterwards. I can do those two, and then we'll finish with your $150 one.
Go for
like
it.
A good structure? Okay. So my $40 deck is a Dromai deck. It's heavily inspired by Mara Ferris's list that she took to second place at Pro Tour 3.
Who?
It's a very Mara Ferris.
It's not ringing any bells, but go ahead.
No, your Twitter rival.
I don't have a Twitter.
We also hung out with her last weekend at the tournament.
It's are you saying there's like some kind of picture also on Twitter of me passing to Mara Faris in a Monarch draft that we did over the weekend?
That is potentially something you could find on Twitter if you went digging for it.
I'll have to find it.
So the idea of this deck is it's very aggressive. It's basically mono red in the main deck, and it has some blues in the sideboard, but it's playing all reds into most matchups. And your goal is to get basically 4 points of value out of as many cards as you can, and then also have dragons, because the dragons are really strong if your opponent's not just popping them. So 0 for 4s and dragons, and you're not totally reliant on your dragons because you just have these efficient 0 for 4s. So I'll go ahead and read the deck. it is, like I said, it's a Dromai deck. And for equipment, the chest is Seeker's Goulet, the hat is Seeker's Hood, the legs are Snapdragon Scalers, and the arms are Wave of Reality.
So I believe it's Seeker's Gillette, by the way.
Is it Gillette?
Yeah, because it's the best your armor can get.
Gillette pronunciation. I'm Googling it right now. Gillette. Okay. Is that okay? So Wave of Reality essentially just blocks for 2. It blocks for 1 on the first hit, and then you get a Spectral Shield, which will block for 1. Snapdragon Scalers is really important to give some of your attacks go again. And then the 2 Seekers equipment are great, especially when you're going second. You can just pitch a red to activate them to rent 1 damage and create an Ash. And then at the end of your opponent's turn, you'll just draw back up if it's the first turn of the game when you're going second. And it's also really important to have ways to generate those first Ash in the game, because it can be really challenging for Dromai to do that. So Seekers fill that role pretty well. So the whole deck is red, or the whole main board is red, so I'm just going to read through it. There's 3 Billowing Mirage, 3 Blaze Headlong, 3 Breaking Point, 3 Burn Them All, 3 Dust Up, 3 Invoke Asvali, 3 Invoke Chromai, 3 Invoke Kyloria, 3 Invoke Mirgai, 3 Invoke Uvia, 3 Invoke Thamai, 3 Invoke Yenderai, 3 Rake the Embers, 3 Ravenous Rabble, 3 Scar for a Scar, 3 Sigil of Solace, 3 Skittering Sands, 3 Snatch, and 3 Sweeping Blow. And then this is a 57 card main deck, and then you'll bring in other cards depending on the matchup, and you can trim some cards to bring in other cards too if you need to. But for the sideboard, there's 3 Fate Foreseen and 3 Sink Below, just 0 for 4 defense reactions. Anytime they're attacking you a lot and you expect to get attacked every turn, and you just want these to cover up damage, you want to get 4 points value out of your cards as often as you can, and these help you do that. There's 3 Infectious Host. Roger talked about this a lot on his last deck he was talking about, where it's great against the Lexi decks or Ranger decks or Uzuri also, that when they just give you these infections, Frailty or Blood Rot or even Inertia, it just hands it back to him on top of just being a 0 for 4. Just a good rate for a card. Then there's 3 Sand Covers, which, not that you really need more help against Kano, but it really kind of makes sure that matchup's great. It's also good against heroes like Azalea and Bravo, where they're relying on Dominate to push attacks through your defenses. Stand Cover, just giving something ward for, just helps you cover this up pretty well. And then there's 6 blues in the sideboard also. There's 3 Energy Potions and 3 Passing Mirage. These are mostly for Icelander. Passing Mirage is also good against Rhinar or Bravo or any decks that have a high number of poppers. And then there's a Null Ruin Hood for Wizards.
Okay.
And then if you this deck in total costs about $40. If you want to upgrade the deck, the biggest thing you can do to upgrade the deck is get a Flamescale Furnace. It's around $100. It's a chess piece that
I'm looking at the cheapest one on TCG Player right now for $75 redues. So
cool, cheaper than I thought. But this will really take the deck to the next level, where you can you get multiple extra points of block on your equipment, which is huge. And then you can also just pitch extra reds. Like if you play a dragon, attack with a dragon, and they pop it, you can just pitch let's say you're planning to attack with your dragons, then attack with a Dust Up or something, but they pop your dragon, and your arsenal's full. You can't play the Dust Up. So you can just pitch the Furnace and turn it into an Ash, which is pretty nice upside. And then it also allows you to run some cards that you can't play in the deck without Flamescale Furnace. It's hard to really play too many 2-cost cards without Flamescale Furnace. And then you can also replace Sweeping Blow with Flamecall Awakening when you have Flamescale Furnace, because it allows you to tutor up that Phoenix Flame and then pitch it to Furnace to get an Ash that you would get from playing the Dust, or from playing the Sweeping Blow. And then you also get 2 resources to follow it up with something else. So that's the biggest upgrade. Other upgrades you can make is getting Enlightened Strike. It's about $30 a copy. It's just a really powerful card. It's very flexible and it's great. And then you could upgrade the hat to either Arcanite Skullcap for about $50 to $60 or Crown of Providence for about $200. They're the best hats in the game at generic. They see play in most decks that don't have legendary hats of their own. And if you do make this change where you get one of the hats and you get Flamescale Furnace, you should make sure to replace your Wave of Reality gloves with Seeker's Mitt, because it's really important to have at least one piece of Seeker's equipment.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's about it for Dromai.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get on board with this deck just because I don't think anybody could win with Dromai budget or not. But I mean, I guess for like getting people into the game and at least getting them down to sit down and play games of Flesh and Blood so they can learn about the different, more playable, better heroes in the game. You can't really complain about $40. I've lit worse $40 on fire, you know?
And I guess you notorious Dromai hater, Roger speaking on the topic. So my next deck is a Katsu deck. It's about $60, and the goal with this deck is you're trying to assemble the combination of Surging Strike into a Gust Wave attack into Bonds of Ancestry, and when you play Bonds of Ancestry, you can banish an attack with combo from your discard to search your deck for another copy of that card, and then banish it, and you can play that copy this turn. So Surging Strike into Descendant Gust Wave into Bonds of Ancestry is you need 4 cards to do this because you need a resource card for Surging Strike, and then Descendant Gust Wave, and then Bonds of Ancestry. So 4 cards, and you get a ton of damage out of this. You get 5 from the Surging Strike, 5 from Descendant Gust Wave, and then 4 from Bonds is 14. And then you get 4 more damage if you search for Dishonor or a red Fluster Fist. And that's 18 damage off 4 cards. It's very, very good, very, very powerful. So I'll go ahead and read through the deck. Again, it's Katsu,
the Wanderer.
I'm realizing I did not put the weapons in this deck.
Oh, so you don't play any weapons? That's bold.
So for equipment, there's Breaking Scales, Heart and Cross Trap, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, and Snapdragon Scalers. Wait, I didn't put a weapon in the Dromai deck either. So we'd have to cut one of the energy potions from the Dromai deck to get
oh no, that means we can't give any of our dragons going, actually. Michael just trying to sabotage people. Dromai is unplayable. How do the dragons get going? Or attack with the dragons. They can get going, but how do I attack with them? They don't say attack.
So I'll have the updated decks in the description. Oops. But for equipment, there's Breaking Scales, Heart and Cross Strap, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, and Snapdragon Scalers, and 2 Kodachis. So the biggest things are Heart and Cross Trap allows you to play a Surging Strike without pitching a card for it. And because Surging Strike is the only card in that combo that costs resources, you can, with Heart and Cross Trap, you can play the Bonds line off of just 3 cards rather than needing 4 cards because you don't need the resource card. And Mask of the Pouncing Lynx also allows you to tutor up the combo pieces. You can tutor up a Descendant Gust Wave or a Bonds of Ancestry with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. You can't get the red versions of them with it. You have to get blue Bonds or yellow Descendant Gust Wave, but it's still really powerful to be able to get them. Blue Bonds converts to 6 damage, and the yellow Descendant is 4 damage on its own and enables the Bonds. So if it's following up a Surging Strike. So still very powerful. And then moving into the deck, at red, there's 3 Ancestral Empowerment, 3 Be Like Water, 3 Bonds of Ancestry, 3 Descendant Gust Wave, 3 even bigger than that, 3 Fluster Fist, 300 Winds, 3 Ravenous Rabble, 3 Scar for a Scar, 3 Snatch, 3 Soulbead Strike, 3 Surging Strike, 3 Whelming Gust Wave. At yellow, there's 1 Bonds of Ancestry, 2 Descendant Gust Wave, 100 Winds, 3 Surging Strike, and 1 Salt the Wound. And at blue, there's 1 Bonds of Ancestry, 3 Fluster Fist, 3 Whelming Gust Wave, 3 Dishonor, and 3 Winds of Eternity. In the sideboard, there's 3 Flick Flack, 1 Reinforce the Line, 3 Sink Below, 2 Energy Potion, 3 Lord of Wind, 1 Arcane Lantern, and 1 Tide Flippers. So, for the most part, you are just trying to assemble the combo of the Surging Strike and the other cards that we talked about. Even bigger than that combines really nicely with Snatch to just threaten Go Again on a really powerful attack. The 0 for 4s with natural Go Again, like Ravenous Rabble and Scar for a Scar, are very good because they can turn on your Mask of the Pouncing Lynx and your Katsu abilities. If you're able to keep a 4 or 5 card hand, you can use them to kind of force through your Katsu trigger to be able to go get the combo piece you need. Even if your opponent wanted to block out your Surging Strike, now you start with Scar for a Scar before the Surging Strike, and then you're going to be able to go get your combo. Alternatively, you can lead with Surging Strike, and if it hits, you can then discard your Scar or your Rabble to go get the Descendant Gust Wave or the combo piece that you want. And if they block out the Surging Strike, then you can just play the Scar for 4 damage, which is still a pretty solid rate. For the sideboard, there's a bunch more blues. Against ice decks, you need more blues. And then there's a bunch of defense reactions, the Sink Below and Flex Black to fight the Rangers and reinforce the line. Similar to Sand Cover, you're looking to cover up big dominated attacks with it.
So, aside, like, what are like the main upgrade pieces you would think would be for this deck?
Yeah, so the
Final Spring Tunic.
So the biggest upgrades, I think, one is Mask Momentum. You aren't playing this card in every matchup, even if you have it, against a lot of decks that have good blocking equipment and are happy to block a reasonable amount. You still would play Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, but Mask Momentum really shines against Dromai because you can attack at dragons and they count as chain links hitting to get your draw card. It's also quite good against both the Wizards and the Rangers because they have a significant lack of good blocking equipment. So it can really force them to make some awkward blocks to deny you that card draw. The other big upgrade is Enlightened Strike. It just makes the deck better and it combines very nicely with the Quicken tokens you get from Even Bigger Than That, where you can then use Enlightened Strike as put a card on the bottom, draw a card, and go again. So that's a single card for 5 points of value because you're replacing the other card with the draw card and Enlightened Strike. The last upgrade is Final Spring Tunic, which again about $200, and it's good against the grindier decks. But in most aggro matchups, you're looking to play Heart and Cross Trap anyway, so you're not giving up equity against a lot of decks by only having Heart and Cross Trap. But against the slower, more controlling decks, you definitely want Tunic if you are willing to spend the money on it, basically.
Fair enough. Anything else about the Catman?
The Catman. Misty was meowing in the background when he said that.
Yeah, he's like, Katsu. Kitty cat, meow meow.
Yeah. The last thing is there's that yellow Salt the Wound that I talked about. It's similar to how you would use it in 5, or sometimes you're going to Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to tutor for it. You're really looking to get at least 5 points of value out of your Pouncing Lynx. I think the longer the game goes on, the more you're willing to come down on how much value you need to get out of it. If you're both at like 5 life and you can cash it in for 4 damage, it's probably worthwhile to do that. But early in the game, try to get at least 5, maybe even 6 points of value out of it.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's about it for Katsu.
Okay. So this is going to be now pushing it, I guess, in terms of like overall budget. But I also think this is going to be probably one of the most like tournament viable, almost good to go decks that we've talked about so far. And it's Boomer Bravo. I played a very list, like maybe 5 or 6 cards different than this in Chicago a couple months ago at the release of Outsiders. I think Bravo will be fine, solid 1.5 deck or something like that. People still take him and love the hero to like events like Callings and things like that. So as far as like pushing this to like the most, like tournament viability and things like that, I think this is a great place to start. And the deck price might even come down a little bit with Old Him rotating. So I don't know that Guardians overall and their cards are going to be the most in demand going forward. So, or at least for in the immediate future. So yeah. I guess to start with, I'll go with the equipment, which is Anathos, Crater Fist, Helm of Eisen's Peak, Iron Wrought Legs, and Tectonic Plating. Obviously, a lot of the price of this deck is going to be wrapped up in that Tectonic Plating. So if you did want to kind of make it more budget friendly, you can look to replace that with something else. But I just think it's so integral to Bravo's strategy overall. And it's not the most expensive card. I think I was just looking at prices before this, and I think it was like $50-$60 or something like that. It was cheaper for a while. Like I think when I first built this deck, when I was thinking about budget decks like a month or two ago, Tectonic Plating was like $30 or something like that. It was crazy low for a little while.
30 is crazy.
Yeah. For a legendary from Welcome to Wraith, like tectonic plating was like really low.
Yeah, I remember looking up Scab Skin Leathers, which I was also looking at brute decks for this episode, but I just didn't have a deck that I was happy enough to kind of go through on the for everybody. But Scab Skin Leathers was around 40 something, and it's hard to imagine that tectonic plating would be cheaper than that.
Yeah, it was $38.53 at its lowest. Right now it's $47 for the Welcome to Wraith version. And it's $39 for the history pack version. So I mean, like, as far as legendary pieces of equipment go, I think it's one of the most powerful effects out there at the moment for its price point. Like $40, I think, is a pretty good deal for a legendary as powerful and as iconic, arguably, as tectonic plating. But that's just one man's opinion, and we'll get into the rest of the deck now. So for the deck, we have 3 Chokeslam, 3 Crippling Crush, 3 Sigil of Solace, right? 3. Yeah. I wouldn't play blue Sigil of Solace or blue Sink Below. 3 Chokeslam, 3 Crippling Crush, 3 Sigil of Solace, 3 Sink Below, and 3 Zealous Belting. Then at blue, there's 3 Buckling Blow, 3 Chokeslam, 3 Cranial Crush, 3 Debilitate, 3 Disable, 3 Findall's Fighting Spirit, 3 Imposing Visage, 3 Macho Grande, 3 Rouse the Ancients, 3 Showtime, 3 Staunch Response, 3 Terror Thunder, 3 Thunderquake, and 3 Unmovable. In the sideboard, there's 1 piece of Null Rune Boots, 1 piece of Null Rune Gloves, 1 piece of Null Rune Hood. There are 3 Buckling Blow, 3 Pulverize, 3 Spinal Crush, 3 Unmovable, and 3 Buckle. And basically against Lexi, you're going to want to be bringing in those Buckling Blows and Buckles in order to try to snipe the New Horizon. Because if you get that off, Lexi will just kind of crumble. She needs her arsenal slots in order to consistently push her high value turns. And then on top of that, you have just a bunch of really punishing on hits against that deck that you're able to dominate with Bravo's ability, like Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, Chokeslam. Like all those are just kind of like lights out against Lexi if you actually like hit and land their crush effects. And you also at the same time block really well. You know, the deck is just mostly three blocks. You're going to have really consistent turns on most turns, and you have a lot of blocking equipment as well in order to soak up and help kind of mitigate the hit effects of the arrows. So that's kind of like the core reason of, I would say, if like Lexi remains a very popular deck at your like local meta, like you go to your local armory and it's just like mono Lexi players or something like that, and you don't have the biggest budget in the world, but still want to, remain competitive with like these tier 1 Lexi decks, I think this deck is going to be one of your best options to do so for, around $150.
So if you are looking to spend more than $150, or once you've played this deck for a while and you want to make some upgrades, what would you be looking to improve about the deck?
Get some Command and Conquers. Then you could throw the Command and Conquer Pummel package in as well, instead of the Buckling Blow kind of package. You could also run Findall Spring Tunic, and that kind of opens up some different angles with the deck for some kind of more technical plays and options that you can get with Bravo. But that's getting very much in like the weeds of like, you really want to maximize your percentages against like slower, grindier decks, or make sure you're getting more, you're getting different value angles by making sure when you want the 4th resource to attack with something like a Chokeslam, you have the tunic counter instead of having to activate Tectonic Plating to get the Seismic Surge. Like there's like very niche reasons why you would play like Findall Spring Tunic, but it's obviously not needed at all to like have the core essential to the deck. And then obviously the biggest one is going to be the headpiece in the Helm of Eisen's Peak. Even if you want to just even do like another $50, get it to an even 100. You can get Arcanite Skullcap, solid headpiece that you can use. So obviously then if you start looking at Crown of Providence, though, that's another $200 piece of equipment. So if you want to upgrade slots, you definitely could throw probably another easily $600 at this deck, get it to that clean 1,000 mark. But as far as just sitting down clean 1,000. And E-strikes and things like that. Like you could just all the generic staples that we've mentioned for all of these decks so far. I think Command and Conquer's been the big one that we haven't mentioned so far, just because it's probably a little overplayed and like it's like fine, but like a lot of people just love it and throw it in everywhere. It's very powerful, but I don't think it's deserves its sheer ubiquity. And I think we'll see less and less of it as time goes on and more cards get added to the pool. But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of why I want to talk about Bravo. I'm a little bit of a Bravo believer. I don't think he's going to be like a tier 1 amazing beat everything deck in the future with Dusk Till Dawn, but I think he'll remain a solid 1.5 deck. And even depending on like how the meta shakes out, like if Prism comes back in a major way or something like that, you could start adding cards like Lead the Charge or start getting multiple action points and things like that. But that's kind of getting more into theoretical La La Land kind of deal. So what are your thoughts on budget Bravo?
I think it sounds solid. I think if you go to that $200 price point and get the skull cap, you have like a very, very solid deck that's like definitely capable of taking down armories and competing with a lot of the decks that are like considered tier 1 are very good. So I think if you're committed and you enjoy the playstyle of Guardian, which is, or I guess if you think you might enjoy the playstyle of Guardians, where you're just like swinging big attacks, blocking efficiently, and really stopping your opponent from doing what they want to do a lot of the time, forcing them to block, forcing them to kind of react to your big on-hit effects, then Bravo is a solid deck and a good spot to go, I guess.
Yeah, it's not as defensive, obviously, as Oldhim. You know, you're not looking to just like block nonstop and just swing your hammer on a lot of turn cycles. Like you will eventually hit pivot points in the game where you'll want to take a good chunk of damage and swing back one of your disruptive effects with Dominate potentially. So I think he's also a great hero for learning aspects like that, then kind of figuring out like what matters and what doesn't matter in like game cycles. And it's a deck like Bravo forces you not only to learn your own deck in a proactive way, but also what your opponent's doing, which one of your crush effects matters at different times, which ones don't. So I think just overall, like there's a lot of really positive things about the deck.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
And he's about to get a sweet new card from Dusk Till Dawn, in that one that makes a seismic surge when it blocks, and Crush, they can't cast cards with power for the damage it's dealt or something like that. I forget the name of the card.
Starstruck,
yeah. So Starstruck's also going to come
up.
Yeah, and he's struck from CC. So yeah, that's kind of our 4 budget decks that we covered. But ultimately, you know, the best budget way to get into the game is have a good friend buy some blitz decks or a box and just sit down and do sealed. Play some intro games and figure out what's going on. And I think especially like picking a set that looks cool to you, spending $80 and just like trying to build decks with what you have is a really fun experience for like getting into games. And I don't think it should be overlooked. And yeah, because that's how we got in. Right?
I agree. You bought a bunch of products. We played Blitz first with the pre-built Blitz decks, and then we started playing sealed and just had a blast playing sealed. And then eventually we started transitioning to constructed, but that wasn't for quite a while. Basically, like after the calling in Cincinnati is when we started really
like 2 months.
Constructed. Yeah,
2 months.
2 months of having a great time playing a bunch of sealed.
Sure, that's fair. And what you notice about that story is we didn't go to www.tcgplayer.com and just spend $2,000 on the tier 1 decks immediately and expect to walk in and start winning events. Like that's just not how people get into card games. So yeah. Any final thoughts on budget decks overall? We could talk about some exciting Dusk Till Dawn things that are going on next, though, to wrap things up.
I guess I just want to say, if you're like on the fence about buying into Flesh and Blood and like seeing these decks that are like $20, $40, $60, and they're all like very like reasonable, you could have a good time in an armory, get a lot of good experience in. And if you're looking at diving into Flesh and Blood, I think the game is in a very good spot, and I think it's going to keep growing. And if I don't know, if it's just a very good game, and there's a reason we make a podcast on it. We love the game, so you should check it out. You should do it. Pull the trigger.
Yeah. Not the most unbiased source between the world champion having a podcast and traveling around the world playing the game. Obviously, we like it a little bit. So, yeah. Hope to see you at a tournament one day.
Mm-hmm. All right. What did you want to talk about, Monarch or Dusk Till Dawn?
So, the game's really good and well designed and everything like that, but except for Illusionist, because what the hell is going on with Illusionist, Michael? What is happening with these Dusk Till Dawn spoilers?
So I think they really weren't happy with how Auras played, how Luminaris just made all your Auras into attacking for one over and over again. And I think a lot of the community wasn't really happy with how these Spectral Auras played either. And they're like, okay, we gotta take New Prism in a different direction. The only other direction is these Herald attacks that she has from before. So they're trying to emphasize them with this new attack reaction that gives +4 to a Herald, and then there's the new 0 for 5 defense reaction that's really sure is a thing.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about that first one. There's Angelic Wrath, which is at red. Instant. It says target attack with Herald at Saint gains +4. So 0 for 4 at instant speed. It's a pretty good rate. 0 for 4 doesn't cost your action point. That's really good. The downside, obviously, is that it has to target a Herald attack, presumably with Phantasm. So if that Herald gets popped, you're not wrathing it. Or you could, but I don't know why you would want to.
Yeah, I think there is a window where the Phantasm trigger goes on the stack that you could play this card, but it doesn't do anything if it's just getting destroyed anyway. So no point in doing that.
Seems poor.
This card does have some pretty big downsides. It doesn't block at all. It's not like a lot of the attack reactions just block for 2, but this card is an instant and does not block at all. So I'm not sure power level wise. It seems very good if you can consistently like remove the Phantasm from your attacks with cards like Passing Mirage or the gloves. What are the gloves called? The Prism gloves, whatever they're
Dreamweavers.
Yeah, Dreamweavers. Effects like that do make this
you crack Dreamweavers, attack with Herald of Erudition, cast Angelic Wrath on it, hit, draw 2 cards before the effect resolves. Use one of your new cards, or is that an action? Is the new Luminaris an action? Oh no, it's an instant.
The weapon's an attack reaction. Oh, it's an instant.
Yeah, it's an instant. So then, after you've drawn your cards, you can pitch to have the attack game go again before it resolves, and then you have 1 card left over to do something with.
Yeah,
but yeah, I could see that line happening.
See. And then like you need your Phantasm or your Heralds to hit to put them into your soul, which New Prism I think cares about that. So this attack reaction can help push your attacks over if your opponent's just like blocking them out. Like they block your Herald of Erudition with a 3 block and some armor. They block your red Wartune Herald with 3 block and a 0 for 4 defense reaction or something. So you can push them over, get the cards into your soul, and that'll matter to you quite a bit.
Yeah. And then as far as the defense reaction is concerned, I like that LSS will sometimes put like a wink, wink, nod, nod what you're supposed to be doing with this card in the art. Because Flicker Trick, she is dodging a ninja attack. And one of the best things you can block with this is going to be a Surging Strike. So that's kind of a cute wink, wink, nod, nod kind of a deal in the art, right?
Yeah, though it is pretty risky to cast this on a red Surging Strike, because if they have an Ancestral Empowerment, then your thing gets blown up because it has 6 power after it gets Ancestral Empowerment.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. we're gonna talk about the threat of pumpy with this card, because the other best class you would want to cast this against, obviously, is going to be Ranger, because they just have a lot of 5 power arrows, infecting shot, the one that draws a card, Heat Seeker. Like, there's just a lot of the Bolt and Shot with, if you give it +1 power, 5. So all these are 5 powered effects, but they also run instants called Rain Razors or Art of War, or sometimes even, what's the lightning one? Lightning Press. Yeah. That buff their attack's power, and if you block with this and then they do a pumpy power thing, then this gets destroyed. And even if, like, you're like, okay, well, they're going to get priority first, so if they're going to cast Rain Razors, they're more than likely going to do it before I block, so then I just won't block with it. Okay, then you have a useless card in your hand.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah. It sure is a red that can only block things that have less than 6 power. The last thing to note about this card is it seems like it would be solid in the Prism Mirror if you're trying to block their Heralds. This is 5 points towards blocking it, because it doesn't break against Phantasm, or it doesn't break against Illusionist attacks.
Non-Illusionist, but yeah.
But if you're looking for a sideboard card to stop your opponent's Heralds, you should probably just play a Popper.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if this card will get there or not. It's an interesting effect. 0 for 5 is a very, very good rate if you can get it to line up, or there's a deck that this consistently lines up against. I'm just not sure there is.
Yeah. And, like, obviously, if you aren't getting the full 5 value out of it, then it's just kind of fine. It's like just a worse sync blow. So if you use this to block like a Snatch, for example, then you're only getting 4 points of value out of it as opposed to your 5, because you're not utilizing that extra defense on it, actually. So we'll see. But the other 3 cards that I had a lot of people come up and ask me about over the weekend were the new Bannerets for Bolton. They're like, what do you think of the new Bannerets? Is Bolton broken now? And I'm like, if this is all he's getting, no, he still sucks. But I would be shocked if this is all he's getting. I think these are fine, like, marginal effects that, like, are there for the moment. But I think what these also hint towards are we will get what we actually want out of the set for Bolton, which is more actual real charge cards. So the issue with Bolton wasn't the fact that he wasn't getting value from the cards he charged, and it wasn't the fact that he didn't have good enough payoffs. It was the fact that he had to attack with Engulfing Light. You know, just make it so I don't have to attack with Engulfing Light anymore, then I'm happy.
I think I don't think I could count how many times you've attacked me with specifically yellow Engulfing Light, which has not...
You just look at your hand, you're like, I'm sad for you. I don't even want to block this. Like, I'm sad that I have to block your yellow, horrible 0 card 2 or 2 card 2. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah. But we'll see. I think also one other issue with the Bannerets is so far they're all in yellow, and Bolton already has too many yellows, where yellow cards are just like generally less efficient than reds. I think via the Vanguard and Lumina Ascension both do a pretty good job at being quite good for yellows. Beacon's all right. Cataclysm's also all right, though not amazing.
Beacon's broken. I don't know why you're saying. I think Beacon's like the best one out of, but via the Vanguard's probably the best one. And I think Beacon's the second one, and then Lumina.
I think Soul Shield's up there as well.
Yeah, like I don't think the issue with these cards is the fact that they're yellow. Like, I think the issue is just like their effects are marginal, and like they block for 3, like, and they only attack for, they're like 1 for 4s, so like they're just kind of whatever. And
they're sure statted like they're yellows.
You don't have it. And when you're building Bolton, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna be like, okay, so I'm Bolton, I want to be charging. Cool, that's what my hero says I should do. I get rewarded. I want cards in my soul. I want charge cards. Okay, what's the math on how many charge cards I want? Baseline 30. Half of your deck at minimum should be charge cards. And you're like, okay, remember all those other powerful cards we just mentioned? Via the Vanguard, Beacon of Victory, Lumina Ascension, Celestial Cataclysm. Well, that makes 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So now we're at 45 cards base.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 15 more slots for all the rest of the cards in the game to decide what to put in the deck. And like, I don't know that the Bannerets make it at that point. You know?
Fair, yeah. I don't know if you have to play 30 charge cards if the other cards are like so strong that like if you have some turns you don't charge, it's worth it because the average power level of your deck is so much higher. Like Red
Illuminate. You wouldn't have to play 30 charge
card,
cards. Yeah, you want Red Illuminate too, so you're at 18 cards. If there's an equipment that like is like a reaction that lets you charge, or if they do something like that where you don't need to rely on the cards, the charge being the actual line on the card itself in order to do that. And if they give like a piece of equipment or some outside additional way for Bolton to like charge, game over. Like I'd be through the moon. Like that'd be awesome, dude. Like I'd be so happy. I would never have to look at an engulfing light ever again. Ever, never, ever again.
Misty agrees.
Yeah, I'm glad Misty's a Bolton fan.
She says, no more engulfing light, please. Just food.
Yeah. I'd be very happy to put my foil engulfing lights into a binder and forget about them.
All right. Dude, I've been having so much fun flying Levia in Monarch Draft. I'm very excited to see if Levia gets some help in CC. I'm ready to play some class constructed Levia.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, she's been kind of under talked about so far, I think. Everybody's been talking about Prism and Vincent and now Bolton, you know.
Well, they haven't announced any cards for Levia yet, right? They've announced cards for the other 3 heroes.
Imagine if they just don't support Levia. Could you imagine?
They can't do that. That'd be trolling. Oh my god!
Just actually print 0 brute.
Well, they're actually like
existed.
No, they're like Levia's actually been good. You guys just haven't been doing it right. Get good. Bye. No Levia cards.
Because they're still using the old templated Levia pre-derp. Like she gets action point. Internally, they're like, "Oh yeah, we forgot that we changed her on print. We're still using. Like, why aren't you guys using Levia? She's broken. We don't understand."
Mm-hmm. We'll see. Hopefully, Levia gets some sweet stuff. I am excited to play some Levia.
Okay. Well, that being said, you did the intro. Do you want to do the outro too?
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and always remember when you're thinking about Levia spoilers or Bolton spoilers, don't forget to mind your manners. We'll see you next time.
MNR